What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to PlayStation Generation episode 26. My name is Matt, and I'll be your host for today's events. I'm joined, as always, by the PlayStation Hokage, looking fresh as hell, Mr. Rice Boy. What's up, Rice?
What up, everybody? What up, Matt? What up, Danny? How y'all doing today? Good to be here. Highlight of the week right here.
Highlight of the week right here, Bo Show. It is good to see you, my friend. And of course, we're joined by the one who's either streaming or dying or doing both. Who knows? There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm just going to keep changing this at this point, and we're just going to see where this ends up. Denny, what's up, Denny?
What's up, man? I'm good. I'm going to have to start writing my intro for you, I feel.
Listen,
I'm just going to write it down somewhere and just be like, here you go.
So I used to run a podcast called Burnout Brighter a few years back, and one of our shticks that I loved but my co-hosts did not is that we would kick things off. We would kick every show off with like a random question that I would come up with on the spot and never ever prepare for. So a lot of times it was them vamping while I just kind of made noises in the background for 30 seconds to a minute as I tried to come up with a question, and they were like, "Can you just prepare?" And I was like, "No, I can't. I can't. It is not part of my DNA. So you can write it. And I will
use it though.
That's a different question. My ADHD has been in full swing lately. So it's like things go through one ear and out the other. And if I don't have it in front of me, I will forget. You can write it. We'll see what
I'm going to hold up a sign then.
Yeah. And I'll get distracted by the sign and the show will just completely derail.
Oh, shit.
On this week's show, we're going to be talking about October's very best games. There's so much happening this month. There are so many games I hitting. So we'll talk a little bit about what we're looking forward to, what's on our pull list. And then, of course, we're going to talk about some Metaphor, some Silent Hill, some Tony Hawk, a bunch of Like a Dragon, and a roller coaster of a week for PlayStation is where we will end things off this week. So without further ado, before we get into all of that, Denny, let's kick things off with you this week. What have you been playing, monsieur?
Well, I'm happy to announce that the backlog is getting smaller. I finished, get ready for this, the PS4 God of War. It's done.
Whoa.
It's over.
Hell yeah.
This was one of those games that like I got to a point and then I got stumped for a little, so I took a break and I just kind of came back and I didn't realize I was like that close to the end. Crazy. No, it was like a good like 2 hour just done.
Boom.
And then I started playing Ragnarok because I was like, fuck it, I'm in God of War mode now.
I have a question. Because when we spoke last week, didn't you start Ghost of Tsushima?
I did. I did.
He's going through the full PlayStation catalog.
Like, which is great. But
I play games in a really weird way.
Okay, tell me more.
So I play a game, I get into it, and then I will take a small break. And then while I take that break, truth be told, it's because of Ghost of Tsushima, I went back to God of War because like, oh shit, I should dodge more in God of War. Like I can't just play it like a ruthless hack and slash. Like there's a little bit of like dodging and parrying, which I kind of felt like I learned playing Ghost of Tsushima, right? So I was like, let me go back, and then just blew through the game, and I'm like, okay, now I get it. So if I didn't play Ghost of Tsushima, I wouldn't have finished God of War. But usually I'll take a break and then I'll come back to it. So a lot of my backlog isn't like unopened or unsealed. It's just like, yeah, you're like 50% through the game. Just come back and finish it.
So how far did you get in Ghost of Tsushima? Just out of curiosity.
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you that. I got distracted just exploring because it was just such a beautiful game. Yeah. So I got sidetracked, but I did like find random places and like take down the main person and like take over the little, I don't know what they're called. I forgot what they're called, but I did stuff. I just maybe didn't do the story per se. I just went to different like map markers and just had a grand old time.
Nice. Well, I'm glad however much you played a bit. I feel like this is like one of those math problems in high school where it's like the person played the game for this many hours. After this many hours, they figured out the combat would help them in this game, and they played this game for this many hours. How long did the person play this based on the amount of hours spent to get good at combat in X to be better in Y? And I just feel my brain slowly leaking out of my ears.
It's okay. It's fine.
Not a math person. Not a math person at all.
Me either.
But Denny minus D and N and plus R and C make Rice. So Rice, my boy, what have you been playing?
Your brain is fascinating. Your brain is fascinating to me after. But I'm like right there with you. You know what I mean?
I know you are.
Yeah. what have I been playing? Funny enough, I have been playing Ghost of Tsushima. I,
Oh,
I actually never did a complete run through of my new game plus. I know I've completed the game. I know the story. And I actually didn't quite finish the DLC. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time on this because since Ghost of Yote's announcement, I just wanted to go back and really immerse myself in this world and study it again to kind of have a well-rounded opinion for the one that's upcoming. Yeah,
did you play Icky Island?
I did just a little
Okay,
bit.
excellent. Oh, only a little bit?
Yeah, I'm not completed. I haven't completed it fully, so yeah, it'll be a good run.
Now is a good time. Now's a good time. So,
Mhm.
are you going to play Icky Island where it takes place in the story, or are you going to finish main game and then hop over to expansion?
Where it is in the story. I'm literally almost there now.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
so it'll be good. It'll be good.
Well, I'm excited for you to continue your Ghost of Tsushima journey. As for
Yeah.
myself, I continue to play a game I can't talk about, but a game I can talk about is God of War Ragnarok on Steam Deck.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
I went through a roller coaster with this game because, of course, PlayStation's recent account linking fiasco. I
Yes.
have been trying to link my PSN and my Steam guys for what feels like forever. Okay,
Mm,
and it just never would work, and I don't know why. It was driving me insane. And so when I loaded up Ragnarok on the Steam Deck, because the original ran pretty good on the Steam Deck, I was like, let's see if this account linking feature is going to be the death of me here, because a lot of people were worried that with the PlayStation
right.
overlay only being on Windows, that on Linux it would die. And
Yeah.
that's what happened to me. And then a friend of mine over on X, DJ Chris, was like, "No,
Yeah.
bro, it works. Don't give up." So we spent like an hour back and forth in DMing each other, and we figured it out. It turns out that my account somehow got, I don't know if I linked it to like a different account or something that had happened. But I got on
Right.
PS support. They helped me unlink it and relink it to my primary account. And now it is working. It runs way better than it
Shit.
has any right to. Like a solid 30 to 40 frames on no settings and stuff, obviously, but with like the frame gen and stuff, like it's good. It is
Right.
very good on Steam Deck. So funny enough, you saying that you're starting Ragnarok, Danny. My journey back into it has been pretty cool, especially being able to, like, play on the toilet, play on and go to the mall and play on the toilet there, and then go just find toilets and play it.
Remind
And
me
those,
never to touch your Steam Deck.
oh no, it's I give it like a full wipe, like right around the toilet rim right before I leave.
Ooh.
Um,
And just graze your ass along the way.
just a little tickle, just to really feel those left and right touch pads make contact. You know what I mean?
Add a little texture.
A little
I'm gonna wash
texture.
my hands. I'll be right back.
Yeah, God of War Ragnarok is fantastic on Steam Deck. It runs super, super well. I've seen folks either have one or two options. If they're able to link the account, then it works flawlessly. It doesn't even prompt you. If you're unable, some people say that you can kind of press B enough that it exits out of the account login stuff. I wasn't able to do that. I've heard others have been able to do that. But yeah, it's great. I'm really, really surprised. Those wizards, I think it was Nix's that handled this port once again, have done it. Like to have, Horizon, Spider-Man, and God of War, and sequels across the board playing well on Steam Deck is just is magic. So shout out to them.
So
Thanks
wild.
to PlayStation Canada for sending that over. Super stoked. And next week I'll have impressions on Until Dawn. Shout out to PlayStation Canada for sending that over. The remaster hits tomorrow. I haven't had time to hop into it as of yet, but stay tuned, locked and loaded for that and more next week. Let's hop into our first bit of news, and we're gonna start on some positive, okay?
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of ride this train down the hill to take off the brakes and see where we end up. But coming from VGC, our first story, kicking things off with the first Silent Hill 2 and Metaphor ReFantazio reviews have been published. Japanese magazine Famitsu has published reviews for both titles. This is coming from Jordan Midler. Both games were reviewed in this week's issue of the Japanese magazine Famitsu, which were later published online by Rio Kutia 2098. Famitsu's scoring system sees 4 members of each staff play the game and give it a score with a combined overall score of 40. Metaphor got 9, 9, 10, 9 from 4 critics, giving it a total of 37 out of 40. According to Fitbit, it takes about 80 hours to finish. Silent Hill 2 got a 35 out of 40, getting an 8,999, taking roughly 16 to 18 hours to finish. 2 big titles, folks, hitting at the beginning of October. Metaphor, recently dropped a demo, a huge demo with safe carryover. That's essentially the entire prologue. I've seen some people say it takes 5 to 6 hours. I've seen some people say it took 10 to 12. So your mileage may vary, but there's a lot there to dive into. And Silent Hill 2, remake of a beloved classic, a very, very tumultuous point to where we got to now, where some people were very, very excited about it, and some people were very, very not worried about what Bloober team had in store. But it seems to be all right. I need to know, folks. And Denny, I'm gonna start with you. Are either one of these on your radar? If so, why? And if so, if not, why?
Silent Hill 2 is definitely on my radar.
Okay.
I am a sucker for anything horror based. Recently, I've been going through like kind of a horror craze. The last year, I've gone through all the Resident Evil remakes.
Oh, nice.
So I did like 2, did 3, just finished 4, I think, about a month ago. So I'm excited for it. And these are the games that I feel like, if we're going back to a conversation we had last week, if a game needed a remaster treatment, I think a game like Silent Hill is one that deserves it. And it's super appropriate that it's coming out in like spooky season in October. So for me, like, that's the perfect idea of a remake. That's the perfect like window to launch the game, and it's a great way to introduce a lot of people who probably didn't play that game when it originally came out way back on the PS1, I think.
Yep.
So for me, that game is totally on my radar. I knew nothing about Metaphor, and I am frantically searching for the demo as we speak, because it has caught my attention now. Where the hell is that goddamn demo?
Are you looking on the PlayStation Store?
I am.
Go to the game, and then you have to, like, where the drop down is, where there's like different editions of the demos. The demo's buried in there. Massive demo. There is so much for you to dive into.
And I love that, because I think it's I just looked it up right now. People who did Persona are involved in this game, right?
Yep. Persona devs who basically left Persona because they're still within Atlas, and they're still within that arm, but they wanted to basically take the Persona formula and take it out of high school, and that is pretty much exactly what they've done, taking it into like a dark fantasy setting. So it playing through the demo, it very much feels like that. It very much feels like Persona in a new place, while also feeling entirely its own. Like, it's really, really cool, really dark, really weird, but also very, very, very good. So I'm excited to hear that both of these are on your radar. Rice, my boy, either one of these.
Yeah. So neither have really impacted me, because I haven't played a lot of the Yakuza's games. So it's
why Yakuza? Do you mean Persona?
Sorry, Persona. And so I'm not necessarily well versed with Metaphor and what they have to offer. But my understanding is that your favorite Persona is 3, right, Matt?
4.
4.
4 is a good one. Yeah, 4 is a good one.
For me, it's 4 Golden has my favorite cast and is my favorite overall, and that's probably also because it was the first one that I played. Got it. 5 Royal is the best like overall package when it terms of like, here's Persona in the modern day. Persona 3, I think, has my favorite story, front to back, with kind of the narrative that it goes on. You can't go wrong playing any one of them first, especially now that the 3 remake is out and that 5 Royal exists, and I'm sure there's going to be a 4 remake at some point in the next little while. But basically, like, if you like turn-based RPGs with like a social sim on top, where you literally have like, you go to school, you hang out with your friends, you work on your personality. If those are things that sound appealing to you, you're gonna get eaten alive. Again, Metaphor has a big demo. If it does bite you, save carries over.
Yeah, true.
Can't
hurt. Give it a go.
Play it.
I think I think for me, Metaphor is an obvious lock. Like, I can't wait. I'm so very excited. It's Persona. Persona's my favorite franchise. For me, it's such an easy locked in. Like, I'm there. Silent Hill 2, I have to say, I had one of my good friends loves the Silent Hill franchise, and every time anything Silent Hill happens, he gets disappointed because that game, that franchise has not had a good game probably in 20 years.
Yeah.
That's about right.
He's been very apprehensive about the remake, but now that there's reviews are hitting, and I think Denny, you nailed it. It being October spooky season, I'm not usually one for horror games. Once in a while, I'll kind of get that tickle. I'll want to get a little freaked out. Happened to be with Alan Wake 2 last year, and one of my favorite games of last year. And now it seems that, like, you know, people have their hands on it. You know, like stores have like sold copies and stuff. There's been reactions online. Famitsu has published, you know, a pretty 8 3/9 is pretty glowing. Maybe I'm in, and I can't believe I'm gonna say that.
That's crazy.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to see once reviews fully hit, because I know myself. I'll FOMO into it.
Yeah.
But like the question is like Dragon Ball's right around the corner, and that's going to eat me alive much more than Silent Hill will.
Oh, speaking of that,
like I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so here's my kind of like experience with Silent Hill. Silent Hill, the franchise itself, I was always the viewer or the audience member watching someone play it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was always really fun because I wasn't directly involved with the gameplay. So I'm not reacting to it, but it was like my first kind of scary experience. Like this was before Twitch was a thing. This was before streamers were a thing. And so like that was a fun thing to do, like socially, is Silent Hill. And so all this to say, like, I think that if people want to like hang out while I play Silent Hill, you know, like on a stream or something, that's probably more attractive to me than just playing it by myself.
It's almost like if only you had like a streaming like account, a platform, some would say.
That's an idea. We should get on that.
Where people could like hang out with you as you did so. And almost, can I ask you a question real quick, Rice?
Yeah.
How old were you when you were watching people play Silent Hill?
Too young. I was usually like the little kid with a bunch of big bros, and like, you know, they would play their games and I would be like, this is fascinating. Like my first experience with Resident Evil was watching them play Resident Evil, and it was like, oh, and so I would come home and my mom would be like, oh, this movie seems a little bit spooky, and it was like Home Alone 3.
The least spookiest Home Alone.
Seriously. Meanwhile, I'm watching zombies get murdered and all of these other things. But yeah, I was too young, definitely too young, which is why I enjoyed the experience being the watcher.
So would you say it's too early for you to come now full circle and bring your son on the ride? Because that feels too early.
If I was not in collaboration with my wonderful Rebecca, then maybe that would be a thing. But I think I'm a little maybe too lenient. If
we want to see you next week, then
yeah, exactly. If I want to keep living a life that is good.
I don't want to have to put a pictures of Rice and Court behind me. You know what I mean?
Oh, God.
It'll have to be a memoriam for me with candles and flowers, because Court's on a hiatus. I will be deceased.
I'll dress like one of those nurses from Silent Hill and come to your wake.
Oh my gosh!
Cool. Right?
That would be
equally creepy.
And then that way they could just bury me alongside you, because I've never met your partner, but I'm sure that would very quickly be our first and last meeting.
100,000%. No. She would laugh. She is usually the one that's running in here and scaring me. So
great videos.
Yes.
Awesome.
Well, I'm excited to hear what we all end up doing in the next couple of weeks. It's not like there's a massively expensive console coming out in the next little while that I should probably be saving money for. But
30th anniversary, I think. That doesn't exist.
If only. Let's hop into our next story, because this is one that's way more up my alley. Coming once again from VGC, written by Andy Robinson. Tony Hawk drops another video game tease. There will be a future.
Yes, sir.
Tony Hawk is again teased plans for something related to the Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game series. On Sunday, Hawk marked the original Pro Skater game's 25th anniversary with a post on his Instagram.
Did he? Shh.
What did I do?
Sorry, it just sounded like you said something other than hawk in that
Flock
moment. And I
Stock.
couldn't. I was such a child.
Walk?
Yeah, something like that.
Rock.
It rhymes with all of those words.
Astigmatism.
Sorry to cut you off. Okay, go on.
The athlete said he was immensely proud of the series and thanked Activision and original developer Neversoft. I like that he called out Neversoft. The last Tony Hawk Pro Skater game we got was Tony Tony's remakes of the original 2 entries. I am friggin' stoked, guys.
Yep.
I am so unbelievably excited. These games were so absolutely pivotal in my gaming experience growing up. I'll never forget, before I had an N64, my friend down the street had one, and we rented it and we were playing the living crap out of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I think it was two, but at the time you needed the memory pack on the N64 controller, and he didn't have one. So we usually played the beginning of the game over and over again because we had to keep turning it off until we were basically Pete begged his mom to go out and get a memory pack and came back, and we were like sitting there with the controller, like trying, like, you know, making sure nothing would accidentally turn this thing off as we were trying to save our progress. I love the Tony Hawk series. Skateboard culture is very, very important to me. So for me, I am incredibly excited. Whether it's a remake or a remaster of American Wasteland, whether it's something new, I'm stoked. I just want to know, does this do anything for either one of y'all? Because for me, I cannot wait to see what this is.
Yes, absolutely. I'm just going to chime in here because this is very, very dear to my heart as well. While I never was a skateboarder myself, I was a part of many groups that skated every day. Like, skating was life. And after skating, we would go over to either my house or someone else's house who owned the game and play Tony Hawk. And it was just like, these are like pivotal memories, both in that, like you say, the skate culture, and it was also video game experiences with friends. So like, yes, super, super important to me. I want more Tony Hawk. And yeah, count me in.
Hell yeah. Danny, what about you? Does this do anything for you?
Yeah. Yes and no. Yes.
Okay.
So like you, I also have a very similar story. I didn't grow up having a lot of games, but what I did grow up is, buying those official PlayStation magazines from the grocery store, which came with the demo discs, right?
Yes. Dude.
So, I had the demos for 1 and 2 before I actually ended up getting the full games. And I remember playing the crap out of the Tony Hawk 2 demo, mostly because it had the level editor in the demo.
Oh,
so yeah, I would sit there and I'd make my own parks. And the biggest thing, like Rice as well, I didn't grow up a skater, but I definitely had friends who were skaters. But the thing that I remember a lot about Tony Hawk, especially the original games, is the soundtrack really introduced me to a lot of different genres of music.
Yes.
I think one of the biggest selling features was just you had an amazing soundtrack. And so for that, I am stoked. If they kind of take it back to the roots of Tony Hawk, if they start to go Tony Hawk Ride, Tony Hawk Tour, Tony Hawk 5, that dumpster fire.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be different. It has to be.
What I'd want out of a potential revival or sequel is I would like to see them go open world, but not open world as in like here is a huge area. I want a decently sized area, but I want it to be very dense. Lots of rails. I want to be able to go like in and out of buildings for certain tricks and stuff. Like I want them to really make a really cool things that can have like special areas where you'll do certain missions or it's different, different parks so that you do, specific stuff. But I really want them to do that. But that being said, I don't want them to lose the global aspect of it, because one of the coolest things about Tony Hawk's was like going to Rio de Janeiro, going to different places globally and skating there as well. So I want to see them like pop over, maybe give me a couple of different hubs in different areas. But like I've always much more a Tony Hawk kid than I was like a skate kid. Like I never really got into the finesse of it all. I just like doing big dumb tricks on my board. Let me ask you this. Is there a chance in hell that if this is real,
Mhm.
PlayStation somehow were to get any sort of marketing rights to it, do we get a Spider-Man skin? A throwback
Oh.
to
Ooh.
back in the day? Because of course, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 at this point.
Ew.
There was a Spider-Man skin.
Yep.
Is there a chance? Is there a chance that we
Give
get
it
a
to me.
Spider-Man skin?
That is these are ways that people will pay ridiculous prices. You
Mhm.
know, like
Mhm.
and Sony would,
Yeah.
you know, this is an opportunity to a huge opportunity for sales and marketing because man, that would hit hard, bro. That
You know
would.
what I'd like to see, and it's not just a PlayStation thing, but do you guys remember Soul Calibur 2 and how
Yes.
each version had a different
Yes.
character?
Mhm.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
So yeah, like imagine if the PlayStation version had like a character for PlayStation, the Xbox version had,
Mm.
I don't know, like Master Chief or some shit,
Mhm.
and like Nintendo had Link because
Yeah,
Link
yeah,
is
yeah.
awesome. Um,
Crazy.
that would be cool. But no, absolutely, there'd be a great opportunity for Sony to kind of harken back because I feel like just like you said, you needed that memory pack, we needed a memory card,
Mhm.
but I don't know. For me, I've always tied Tony Hawk to PlayStation.
Same.
Right? And I think it's just it was heavy on the
Interesting.
marketing, is heavy on the like PlayStation bringing out that we have Edge, you know, we have like extreme
Mm.
sports, like that's our brand in the time. It'd be nice to kind of with this whole 30th anniversary and them putting out like a fun game like Astrobot that harkened back to PS1 era. Why not do that as well?
Mhm.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm very, very curious. We'll obviously be talking about this more as we get closer to whatever, finding out whatever this is. But I'm just happy to know that there's conversations that things seem to have a bright future for all things Tony Hawk. Because, like Denny said, after the last dumpster fire of a sequel, we need something, whether it's new or whether it's a remake of one of the other beloved classics. I need
Right.
something. I need something.
Mhm.
Staying on this little old Matt train, IGN,
What?
Majima Focus Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii announced at RGG Summit as the next Yakuza game. This is coming from Ryan Dinsdale. The next Yakuza game is about series wild called Goro Majima fighting pirates and is called Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Ryuga Gotoku Studio and Sega revealed at the September 2024 RGG Summit. The game will seemingly see Majima hunt down a lost treasure and perhaps even feature ship combat in half Yakuza, half Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag looking entry. It launches February 28th, 2025. Boys, get absolutely fucking hype. We are getting a pirate Yakuza game. I already got. I love like Gintama and One Piece are probably my two favorite animes. Okay, I got
Okay.
my Gintama RGG game, which is
Right.
a match made in heaven in Ishin. Now I'm getting a friggin' pirate game. I'm not one for ship combat, but I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna make it work. Majima is one of the goats, one of the best characters ever, and now he's got friggin' memory loss, and he
Go
thinks he's a
on, B.
pirate, bro. Are you kidding me? Lock the fuck in. I will be there day one. I'm going to be there seated for the entire experience. I cannot wait. I just love how RGG is able to pump games out lightning speed, all of them at worst being great video games, and being able to do cool different stuff. I'm so locked in on this, and I want to have a bigger conversation about this in a sec, but I just need to pump the brakes for just a sec and just see, am I alone in this?
Okay, so Denny, you were like what earlier is because a lot of the news that we're talking about today actually
Is
it
Yakuza.
caters,
Yeah.
and it caters to Matt.
This is the Matt train, is the
Yeah. Matt loves this,
Choo
right?
choo.
Right.
Understood.
Yeah.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
Yakuza,
mhm.
I've been honestly waiting for something to, because like do I have to play Yakuza games in a certain order? Yes or no?
Here's
Mm,
here's what I'm going to tell you. If you want classic Yakuza throwdown action,
Mm-hmm.
brawling in the streets, a tight story, fantastic over the top characters, wild side stuff, you could play Yakuza 0.
Okay.
A fantastic starting point. You can get it for like $20 nowadays. And it's genuinely one of the series' best titles. If
Right.
it grabs you, which it will, you're on the ride for 1 onwards.
Right.
If you're looking for the new protagonist, the new turn-based combat, you start with 7. Not
Mhm.
everything is going to completely click the way that it would if you
Right.
had started from the beginning, but they
Right.
don't do so much that you feel left out of the conversation. So
Okay.
there are two really distinct starting points in 0 and in 7, and you can't really go wrong either way. It just depends on, are you looking for action combat classic Yakuza, or are you looking for new turn-based Yakuza?
Got it. All right. That's very helpful. See, I don't know that anyone has ever explained what kinds of mechanics and genres I would be jumping into based on what title. So
Yeah.
that's helpful. I know where to start now. So that way I can catch up to this greatness that you
Mhm.
speak of. Because I know that I am going to enjoy the genre. It's not even that I wouldn't, it's that there were probably other games in my experience in the past that kept me away from experiencing this, but I think I'm at a really good place to start this off.
Yeah.
What
Sorry.
is that?
No, I don't know. Like Rice, I actually have not played the Yakuza games, and I think the closest thing I've played to a Yakuza game is Sleeping Dogs, but I think that's kind of similar, kind of not really.
More
But, like,
GTA than Yakuza, honestly.
fair enough. Yeah. But you're right. Like, I'm actually surprised because like it feels like every other month there's a new Yakuza game coming out. But if they're high quality and we need a good pirate. Like, I know there's good pirate games out there.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
the internet's gonna come after you.
No, I'm just saying, like, when I think about pirate games, the two that come to mind right away are Assassin's Creed 4 and
Okay.
Skull and Bones.
There's more.
There are more. I think obviously there's another one. I forgot.
Right now,
Thieves.
Sea of
Thank you,
Thieves
Sea of
is
Thieves.
killing it right now.
Yeah, Sea
But
of Thieves.
I would argue a very different experience.
Fair.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would be intrigued to see their take on everything, and for that, I would definitely give it a play. And that's it, because I haven't played Sea of Thieves. I played Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and it was kind of like, for me, that's literally for me where it kind of dropped off for my Assassin's Creed fandom.
That's still in it. Yeah, that's still an Assassin's Creed game, not a pirate game to me.
Well, that's the thing. There's pirate themed, I suppose.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I'll give this a try. It looks cool. It looks fun. I could definitely vibe with this.
It's absolutely wild. I'm actually going to pull in a tweet here because I want to park our conversation here for just a second and get your thoughts on opinions on something. I'm going to pull from X over here, from Mitchell Saltzman account at Jurassic Rabbit. RGG's game output is absolutely staggering. In a time where games regularly take 4 to 5 years to make, in the last 4 years, they've had Yakuza Like a Dragon, which was the 7th mainline entry, Lost Judgment, a mainline entry in their side series, Ishin Remake, a full from the ground up remake of one of their beloved like Samurai Edo era titles. The Man Who Erased Name, which is basically like 7.5, a shorter experience set between 7 and 8, Infinite Wealth, which is 8, and now next year in February, a pirate spinoff. And it's something that I think that RGG does that I don't think anybody else, period, anyone else outside of, like, I'll give it to Nintendo with Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom, is meaningfully reusing assets and doing so in a way that it doesn't feel cheap or just recycled.
Right.
Like and hold on, I'm going to pull this back up for a second because just to give you guys some context. Here. Yakuza Like a Dragon and Lost Judgment are set in the same city. It's a brand new from the ground up city that they created for Like a Dragon. But then they also put Lost Judgment there. They added a little bit more to it, changed up a couple things in terms of like what areas became important. Ishin Remake was a remake, so they had their kind of floor to build off of. The Man Who Erased His Name, again, was shorter, so there wasn't as much stuff, but there was some familiarity. Infinite Wealth took us to Hawaii for the first time. The Pirate spinoff also set in Hawaii, again, reusing the same locations. I don't think RGG gets flack for this, and I feel like if any other major developer did this, I feel like they would get a ton of hate. You get idiots online, like, clipping animations from like Horizon to Horizon Forbidden West and being like, look, the role is the same. They reuse the role. So what I want to know is why you guys think, and I'm curious for your perspective, because it is, as people who haven't kind of engaged in the series,
right?
Why do you think it is? Like, why do you think, they do get a pass for reusing assets and kind of, again, 4 to 5 years, they've pumped out like 4 or 5 titles.
Yeah.
And why do you think other studios don't do this more?
That's a good question. Go ahead.
I think it comes to the level of polish. I'm sure these games are like, I haven't played all of them or any of them, but from what I've seen and just from kind of how strong they sell, there's a level of polish or level of storytelling that I think these games have that, kind of blanket the fact that they're reusing assets. Because when I think about two games that I would pay attention to that reused assets was like the Lightning Saga for Final Fantasy 13.
Mhm.
And actually, it's a really funny thing. You mentioned like people are clipping stuff on the internet. When Sonic Frontiers came out a couple of years back, all of the cyberspace levels are rehashed levels, like level layouts from like Sonic Forces, which is a game
Okay.
that only came out a couple of years back. And literally what you said happened is they were side by side doing comparisons of like, here's this level in Sonic Forces, here's cyberspace level 1-8, and look, it's
Mhm.
the same path, the same jump, the same loop the loop, the same exact same layout, fresh coat of paint.
Gotcha.
And I think games like, and this is a perfect example, right? Some Final Fantasy games have a lot of great polish, but there's a lot of backtracking already in a lot of those games. You're revisiting places within an entire game, and then now when you integrate something like time travel and you make us revisit all those places again, it seems like a cheap knockoff. That gimmick of time travel in a
Mhm.
sequel. And then Sonic as well has a history of inconsistent quality,
Yep.
right? And I think that inconsistency doesn't give them that pass. Where it seems like Yakuza, they're pumping these games out like crazy. People are eating them up, which there is a level of quality, a level of polish, a level of finish that allows them to get that pass because they're not just saying like, "Oh, hey, we're back in Hawaii, so do the same stuff you did in the last game." No,
Mhm.
now you're a pirate.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a whole other thing.
And I think that's a great point because again, we're going from turn-based combat to to action combat again. You're a pirate now. You're engaging with these systems and these facilities in different ways, and they're doing so. They do it in such a way that like I think they're really brilliant with how they zone in on this. They're not
Mm.
just bringing back the core cast of Infinite Wealth and then now placing them once again in Hawaii, but now they're pirates. They're taking a fan favorite character that we didn't see a lot of in Infinite Wealth and then staking his his story in this space. So I think they're just so brilliant because I think largely speaking here, I think that this is a potential path forward for the video game industry to not have such inflated budgets, to more meaningfully put out games at a faster clip, to be able to hit these astronomical seemingly profit goals that these companies have, while doing so in a way that like has to feel, like Danny mentioned, at a level of quality and at a level of here is something new. The space is familiar, but here is something new within that. Because what RGG have managed to do is they've taken like Kamurocho, which is like the mainstay area in for a lot of these Yakuza games. You go back there in every game, and what
Mhm.
they've managed to do is make that place feel like home.
Right.
That place feels like a character in its own right. I know that city. I can see the map
Mm.
when I close my eyes. I know where the pharmacy is. I know where the bars are. I know exactly where I'm going to accomplish what I need to do, and I can get there with my eyes closed. It's a
Right.
familiarity that feels like, oh, okay, I'm back here now, and I'm happy to be back here. Let's see what's changed. Let's see
Mhm.
what hasn't. And I don't think any other, for me personally, video game location has managed to strike that in such a fantastic way.
Yeah.
So I think you're right, Denny. I think it's an interesting thing of these games still are niche-ish. Like they're big and they have their audience, but they're not on the level of a Zelda. I mean, how much flack did Zelda get for Tears of the Kingdom for just being like, oh, it's Hyrule again? Granted, they did a lot to it. They added above and below, but again, they caught flack for it. Rice, any thoughts and feelings on this conversation?
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating conversation. As someone who does, uh, love anime, right? Let's talk
Mm,
about anime. Let's talk about Japanese culture.
let's do it.
I'm reading here that this has always been a big hit in Japan, right? But it took a little bit longer for players in the West to kind of understand it. But
Mhm.
we're also in a time now where I believe that anime is very, very popular. I think I talked about this with Denny elsewhere, but like
Yeah.
we did watch and experience Japanese culture when it was like uncool,
Yeah.
and we
Mhm.
were kind of nerds for it, right? But it has kind of found its way in the mainstream, and I do believe, to answer your question, why are people coming back to this franchise? And as someone who hasn't dove into the games too hard, but experienced some of the storytelling, it's quite, yeah, it's quite lovable in terms of its immersiveness. You understand the world when you play the game, and you, like you said, that familiarity brings you back to this warmth rather than it feeling like it's just being forced upon you in other games,
Mhm.
being reused as as other franchises have done, but not in an effective way that would draw me back into a place where it's like, no, I want to figure out more stories that are within this place. This place right here is where a lot of things happen, and this I don't know, drama or struggle, I suppose, these characters, people are coming back for more. I don't know, am I hitting any nails there?
No,
Yeah.
I think you're onto something entirely there, because I feel like these spaces feel lived in.
Right.
You know what I mean? I feel like let's use Spider-Man, and
Sure.
Spider-Man 2 as an example. Spider-Man 2 largely reused a lot of New York because it's New York. Unless you're doing something
Sure.
completely wild story-wise, New York is going to be New York. Yes,
Mhm.
they added more onto it. They changed different ways to traverse. They did stuff to it to try and make it so. It didn't bother me, but again, there's a lot of people that were like, "Oh, we're back in New York."
Yeah.
I mean, it's Spider-Man. It's, of course it's going to be New York. This makes sense.
Mhm.
Do you think we go back to New York in Spider-Man 3? Like, then that's what I mean. Like, if is there
Right.
another series that you think could get away with this in a way, or another series
Hmm.
that should be doing this? You know what I mean? I think
Interesting.
Final Fantasy, Denny's example of Final Fantasy is a completely apt one. Like, I think that they have such a massive and dense world in Final Fantasy 16 that is just
Mhm.
begging for more storytelling.
Yeah.
And if they could figure out a way to reuse that world and to make it different, start in a different location, make the journey different, make the pathways different. Like, if they could find a way to bring you back there and make the story different, set it 100 years before, after, whatever, I think there is something there. And then we're talking about Square Enix maybe making the profits
Yeah.
that they're looking for on shorter development timelines. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, I
Mhm.
think there's something there. So what I want to ask is there another franchise that you think could or should be doing this that isn't?
That isn't.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Good question, man. That's a great question.
I think
Yeah, go
every
ahead.
developer can do it. It's
Mhm.
just how you do it without making it an obvious effort to be economical with your development costs. I
Fair.
think that's the key thing is how do you make it? And I think that comes with story, right? Like you said, do we go 100 years back in the future or 100 years in the past? I said that wrong, but you get my point. Um, like, how do you it's like the Batman thing with the superhero cowl and how he has to do the shoulder thing. Sometimes the most easiest reason to change that and make it make sense is to put that in the story, right? And he wants to be able to turn his neck. Okay, cool. Well, we redesigned the costume for that simple reason. In story, he wants to change his neck or be
Mhm.
able to move his neck. I think it's simply like that. Like you use the story to kind of justify why you're reusing the assets,
Mhm.
and you have that in place, and it just makes it easier. I think anyone could do it. You just have to find a really creative way to do it and not just shoehorn it in there.
Well said. Well said. Rice, any thoughts before we mosey on out of this?
Yeah, it's hard to say who's not doing it. I think that I need to develop a full scope of the Yakuza games because I'm so intrigued. I really am intrigued because the people that I know that love Yakuza, they love it like with all of their heart, right? And so like
Mhm.
I really I need to experience that for myself. And then let's come back to this. Let's circle back to it because like there is something about, I don't know, there's something fascinating about immersing yourself in whatever it is, right? A story, a world, a culture, or all of the above. And it seems like Yakuza has kind of like tapped into that
Mhm.
and really drawn people to come back because you remember when we were talking about Concord?
Mhm.
Make me care.
Yes.
Make me
Yeah.
care
Yeah.
because when you make me care, I invest time, I invest money. And so like it's about creating memorable experiences. If it's familiar but feels new, that is a memorable experience. And when I can experience that with other people, then that makes it even more powerful. So I don't really know that I answered your question at all, but to be completely honest, I'm really fascinated by the fandom and culture around this game. So I got to give it a go.
I really love the way that you said that, because I think there is something there, and I do think
Mhm.
that you've hit a really interesting point, because I think what RGG does so well when it comes to revisiting places, revisiting characters. I think it's they managed to do it in a way where it's like, oh my god, it's you again. Like, what's up? You know, it's like running into an
Yeah.
old friend. Like, let's
Right.
catch up. What's been good? What have you been up to? How have
Yeah.
things changed? Where others, you know, maybe makes it feel like, oh, we're back here again. Oh, it's
Right.
you again. Of course, I'm running into you again. Of course, Link is fighting Ganon again. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
they do it in a way that, like, despite best efforts, that reaction is still there.
Mhm.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yes.
So I would love to revisit this conversation in the future, if and when you guys do dive into Yakuza, because I strongly recommend going with Yakuza 0 and then running from there.
Hell yeah.
Let's get into PlayStation Nation, folks, because PlayStation is as Denny sent a meme in the chat a little while ago of, oh, we're so back, oh, it's over, oh, we're so back of PlayStation in the last few months.
Yep.
We're back into it's so over territory over the last week, because coming from VGC, Jordan Midler writing, Horizon Zero Dawn delisted on the Epic Game Store ahead of the remastered release. The original PC version of the game was released in 2020. The PC version, which was released on Epic Games in 2020, is currently unavailable for purchase. When visiting the store page for the original version of the game, players are now directed to a link for the purchase page of Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. It is possible the lesson has been reviewed so the players don't buy the original version for $49.99 and then have to spend a further $9.99 on the upgrade. That's taking the total price above that. But still, it's worth noting that the game was deeply discounted according to Epic Games debut, with the game falling to $12.49 multiple times this year. What?
Like, why?
I just like. I do think the point of confusion between, you know, the new version and the old version, and not accidentally buying the old version and then whatever, having that upgrade path to deal with, I do think there's a point to that, but I think that this is a similar story to them raising the price of the base PS4 game. You know what I mean? Like we talked about last week. It's just so weird for me that they're so intent on making money on this game.
Yep.
When they've, I would hazard to guess, already made a good amount of money off of this game. You know what I mean? Where I don't know, guys.
Is it to for I don't know, further, when does Lego Horizon come out?
So like November like 14th or something. So it's basically 2 weeks after the remastered version comes out. November 11th, something like that.
Is this to try and boost sales for that game, or, you know, like, what is the strategy here is what I don't understand.
But like, would you want to play a game and then just play a different version of that game 2 weeks later? You know what I mean? Obviously very different mechanically and a different coat of paint, so on and so forth. But like, as like I imagine Lego Horizon is being aimed at parents with children. Am I, as a parent, gonna hop into Horizon for the first time and be like, oh, let me pick up Lego Horizon in 2 weeks? I just bought this game. Let me now buy another game 2 weeks later.
Yeah,
you know
it's
what
so
I mean?
Interesting. It's so interesting. I don't know why. You know, like it's something that, like, I'm like, all right, Sony, all right, PlayStation, all right, Horizon, like, okay, I guess, but like, why? Court says I like money. Yeah, I suppose. I suppose, like, they know they're gonna make sales, so do it, so they can. I'm all in on Lego Horizon. I mean, so am I.
Same.
So am I.
Like, it's not shade against Lego Horizon as much as it is just this very confusing strategy around the remaster.
The remaster. It's very. It's just giving. If not, we want more money. It's like, we need money. And we're going to try and capitalize on something that we knew succeeded. So it's just a little bit confusing. That's all.
Denny, what are you thinking?
I don't think I can say what I want to say on the podcast.
Yes, you can.
No, I don't know. I am also confused. I can't understand it either. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to find an angle where it makes sense. Like, and that's the hardest thing. It doesn't make sense from any other perspective, but hey, money, please. It's exactly what we've been saying. I don't understand it. I don't like it. It really bothers me. This even more so than the price of the PS5 Pro or the
This one takes the
123,000.
cake.
This one is the thing that has left the worst taste in my mouth. Right? And I think and you know what? It's because it's such a small thing. It's not a upgraded console. It's not some other nonsense. It's, hey, here's a game. We've had it out for years. We've done a remaster of it.
Yeah.
And I hate the fact that stores are delisting the older version of the game, because for some of us, maybe we don't care about the 10 hours of recorded video or the graphical improvements, because the core experience outside of that is still the same. And some of us who just want to play the game and experience it, fuck, let me pay the $9.99 after if I want the fresh coat of paint, right? On PC. Or again, it's on PC. I'm sure there are plenty of mods where people have already done something of that nature to make it run smoother, make it run better, make it run faster. And it's just, it's the same thing they did with used games back in the day when you had to pay $10 to get an online code with EA. It's just scummy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just bloody scummy. And it just,
And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, where like, if they left the old version accessible at the price point that it's at,
right,
and left that as an option for folks who maybe, like Denny said, I buy in, I'm 5 hours in, I'm like, you know what, this game is gorgeous, I'm loving this game, I'll upgrade, I'll do that right now. I'll do that right now. But the issue is that they've shot themselves in the foot with that price point that they set for the upgrade path. And it is what it is. People would take the cheaper buy-in if they knew that it existed. And that's where it feels disingenuous. It feels like, again, at the very least with The Last of Us Part 1, there was ground to stand on. You know what I mean?
Right.
At the very least, it was a from the ground up remake. That game was originally a PS3 game. There was room to make that argument for, like, this is the definitive way to play it. But they didn't get rid of The Last of Us Remastered.
Yes.
So I just find it odd.
So odd.
Let's keep this train rolling, because coming from IGN, written by Wesley Ian Poole, PlayStation Network slowly coming back online after significant outage. PlayStation Network is coming back online after an evening outage that left users unable to play their games for hours. At the time of the article's publication, Sony's PSN service status page still shows warning across account management, gaming and social, PlayStation Video, and the PlayStation Store. It hurt everything. People could not play anything. They couldn't even play their offline games if they were digital copies. Everything was completely locked out. Obviously, a lot of folks talking about bringing back memories of the 2011 PSN outage.
Yep. Where's my free game, Sony?
Yep, lasted more than 3 weeks. Back in the day. Wild times. I just, like, again, it was a quick fix. I'm glad that they got it. I just feel like in the midst of plenty of bad news, this was just another thing that happened at the same time that was just like, okay. and I'm just gonna pull in the last story. Because once again, coming from BGC veterinary Tom Ivan, Sony blames quote unquote tech error for the obtrusive PS5 dashboard ads. Sony Interactive Entertainment has said that a tech error was responsible for the appearance of obtrusive adverts on the PS5 dashboard. The full screen ads took over the promotional news posts about games when players browsed their software library. Users quickly pointed out that, if intended, the new feature was seemingly working incorrectly, with outdated and sometimes irrelevant ads being emblazoned across their console's home screen. A tech error with the official news feature on the PS5 console has since been resolved, reads a message posted on Ask PlayStation, the company's official North American X support account. There's been no changes to the way game news is displayed on PS5.
It's like
Sony, get your shit together.
It's like Sony was like waiting to attend this really cool party, which was like State of Play, and thought that like they nailed the landing at the end of it. It was like pretty good, but like not that good, kind of. And then like ever since, Sony News has just been belligerently drunk in just delivering news.
They got drunk at the Yote coming out party, and then they're like, this is like the hangover. Somebody hit a switch that they weren't supposed to, like accidentally turned on ads across the board, accidentally turned on PSN, like they unplugged PSN. Like I think you're 100% right.
It's so silly. It feels laughable, and it sucks that we're Well, it's not. It doesn't suck that much. We're laughing at it, but like it is serious. Like a lot of people were kind of talking about this on the internet that the pre stuff was scary. People's accounts were compromised, and so there are obviously some fears around security and trust with Sony, and so when something goes awry like this, it's very I don't know. I guess my gut reaction is to be funny and laugh about it, but yeah, it's annoying and it sucks.
I also think that this just coming at a time when adverts and
Mm,
gaming I feel like heading to like hurtling towards a point of no return. Court and I had this conversation
right.
earlier this year or last, basically talking about how like advertisements in gaming, like where's the line? And he was talking to
Right.
how like sports games have had it for years. You've had your
Yep.
kind of cut-ins, you've had the play, all the real life ads around the boards of the
Sure.
of the hockey rink.
Mhm.
Because this was coming at a time when like Ubisoft again pushing more ads for other
Right.
games on splash screens as you load into the whatever title you're
Right.
playing.
Mhm.
So I think this coming at a time where again PlayStation has had this huge back and forth and to what is a sensitive topic because I feel like different people have different perspectives on it, ranging from get all ads out, which I don't disagree with, to whatever it is what it is, ads are around anywhere, like we'll just suck it up and deal with it. So I
Sure.
feel like just this was like an unforced error, and I do believe that it was an error, but the cynical part of me is also saying like was this a test to see what they could get away with? Like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I just
Yeah.
like
Tell us the truth.
mm, mm,
Get your tinfoil hats, people.
yeah, bust them out. Like let's
Ugh.
don those bad boys and see what's good. Uh
Right.
I hope that this is the last time we have to talk about this because like I think that would be a major problem for a lot of people, rightfully so, if
Yeah.
Sony's now advertising games when you're just trying to play something that you own.
Yeah.
And I'm more worried about other publishers doing this first and then setting the precedent and it becoming just it is what it is now. Deal with it. If you want to play the games, this is the way that the industry is now.
Yeah.
What do you think of Denny?
I think we've already kind of sort of crossed that point of no return when it comes to advertising. Because
Hmm. Interesting.
although I'm not an avid Roblox player, yeah. No, I'll tell you you'll see where I'm going with this in a minute. I actually have a good
What a
friend of mine.
segue.
No, and this is why I'm telling you this.
Oh,
So I have a friend of mine who actually works in marketing, and the specific company he works for actually gets companies to advertise in Roblox.
right. Okay.
Mm,
So I don't play Roblox. I don't care about Roblox, but then I think about all the kids who go out and play every single knockoff game that's available in Roblox,
Mm,
and you're advertising to these kids. And
right.
hopefully, given the fact that you know your demographic, you are advertising. Like, first of all, why are we advertising to 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds?
mhm,
Sure.
I get it, they're the
mhm.
most impressionable, right? But then now it's just like you can't even control that level of exposure, right? Like normally you can back in the day, if your kid had TV time, you're exposing them to a half an hour television show, and then fine, they get to see a little bit of advertisements. Now you've got a kid who's sitting there on their iPhone at dinner, so he shuts up and doesn't cause a nuisance, right? And he's sitting there playing Roblox, and he's just getting bombarded with advertisement,
Mhm.
right?
Interesting.
So to me, like we're already past that phase. Like if that's what we're already doing, this little techer, funny story, haha. I actually noticed it because of a weird thing. Like the other day, I was just kind of perusing around on my home screen on PS5, and I have the digital copy of Final
Hoppity
Fantasy 7,
hoppity.
Final Fantasy 7 remake, and they were advertising Rebirth, just like in that screenshot from
Right.
on Twitter. And I'm like, oh, this is such a weird thing. They're advertising Rebirth here, but now like thinking about it, it's like, yeah, they're definitely trying to get away with stuff. Like Sony's just being scummy, and that's my word. I'm just gonna call it a scummy move. Yeah, test what you can get away with, test what you can do, test what you can't do, and if nobody says anything or doesn't cause enough of a hurrah about it, hey, more power to you to get away with it. And it just sucks. I feel like we are already seeing it so much advertising everywhere else in every single service, even paid services. Like if you pay for like what Netflix, the cheapest
there's-
option, you
there's
have to
tiers.
go through ads.
Same with Prime. Like I like a lot of
Prime,
the
yeah.
sub services have like your ad tier that's just cost less.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It's
and
full
now,
circle.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's crazy. And it's just we're just so bombarded with ads. I think we've already crossed that line. It's too late. We're done. We're just go buy your Big Mac, go buy your
And they're
Melville's
not
Milk.
even good ads.
No, they're horrible. Marketing sucks these days. These commercials suck.
Come on, like why listen, when I saw the Gushers commercial in the 90s, I wanted to eat a Gusher
So
and I
bad.
wanted my head to turn into a watermelon. Like
Mhm.
it's just that, you know what I mean? So anyway, sorry. That's a
No,
that's a
uh,
commentary on ads and how crappy they are.
I'm going to use this as an opportunity to say thank you to our sponsor, Capri Sun. Just wanted to. Capri Sun is not sponsoring us. If you want to hit us up, we'll do
Yup.
all of the ads.
I will
Yes.
drink Free Sun every
Or
podcast.
Tang.
Hang, bro. Oh
Dang.
my
Some
god.
Sunny D. Let's go old school.
Sunny
Sunny
D. Sunny D and
Damn.
Lunchables.
Yeah.
Lunchables. Oh my goodness.
And I will not stand for this hate that friggin' Mr. Beat and the Mr. Beast and the ilk of them are throwing at Lunchables as if we didn't know it was garbage. Of course it's garbage,
Come
but it was
on.
good.
Yeah,
idiots.
we unapologetically ingested garbage.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Mhm.
We were the litmus test. Matt and I, we have kids, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
We know now, we know better because we experienced the 90s. Okay.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
We can be better parents for it.
There was Red 40 and everything.
Break the cycle, motherfucker.
Break the cycle. Let's head over to our questions. We got a couple coming in from Ed Varnell at the Boss Rush Network at that retro code. 2 questions, they won't be long. All Ed, don't ever apologize for your questions. They're always fantastic, long or not.
Absolutely.
Speak from the
Love
heart.
you.
How will the PS5 Pro handle region-free purchases without the disk drive? I'm confused as to what this means.
Well, for
Wait,
the
sorry.
last
What's the okay? Sorry.
So is it saying like if I were to go to like a Play Asia and order like a Japanese copy of a game, how would I play that? Is that what this question is asking?
Oh,
I think there's 2 schools of thought for it.
Okay.
So the first one is like PS3 and PS4 were region free.
Yeah.
Right. So you could
Yes.
you could go to Play Asia or Pacific Mall or whatever and buy a game and pop it in.
P-ball.
Sorry.
You really just referenced
P-Mall.
P-Mall.
I'm sorry.
Let's go.
Sorry.
Don't say sorry. That's you're putting it on the map right now.
That's a deep Toronto cut for
Yes.
our international fans.
Oh my
That's-
gosh.
That's where I go for my copies of Initial D on the PlayStation 3. So
And phone cases.
oh, and phone cases. There's actually a new store that opened up I want to go check out. Side note. But like you have that, but then you can still create, and I've done this before, a Japanese PSN account
Exactly.
Right.
and download and purchase, and you just have to like go online and buy like a PSN card that was in a yen denomination versus USD or Canadian.
Interesting.
So my thought would be if you get the disk drive and you smack that bad boy, and it should still work. If your PS5 right now is region free, which I think it is.
I believe they are because I bought mine in Korea and I've had no issues because I think it comes down to more like what you were speaking to, Denny, is just make an account for the location that you're trying to get the thing from.
Right.
And unless they add further protections onto that, I don't see this being an issue. And I think that this is a very niche issue on top of that. Like again, I traveled with both my PS4 and my PS5 from Korea to Japan and all over the place, and I was able to play them everywhere that I went.
Right.
Because my PSN account just let me do so. And
Yep.
any games that I bought, again, still worked. I like, for example, like if I bought a game that had like a code, I couldn't use that. Like when I bought Monster Hunter, there was like a code for like an armor set. That armor
Right.
set was locked to like a Korean PSN account that I couldn't access, but the game itself had no issues. And I can't imagine, like, if you have the disk drive, then I don't see, like, the
Yeah.
discs will continue to be a non-issue. And if you're going digital only, then you're still able to create accounts in different places and be able to get to access them in the same way. So I think that's kind of I think you hit the nail on the head there, Denny.
That's an interesting question.
Right? I know. I that one had my brain scratching a little bit. And the second question is saying, do you think Sony needs to have a major go-to win for PS5? And if it does, do you think it won just be for that one game for its console cycle? I think that the PS5 I think its greatest weakness is that the greatest games that we've had on this console, with the exception of a few, have been sequels or remakes to games that we've already gotten. Or are available elsewhere. God of War Ragnarok is a game of the year contender. There's like Spider-Man 2, in my opinion, is a game of the year contender. There are games that they've had that have come out that I don't think have made the splash the originals did, only because they were a sequel.
Right.
I think and hope that that will change as we head into the back half of what will be this console's lifespan. I think Astrobot genuinely has a decent shot this year at getting a hit, and I would absolutely love if Astrobot won this year, for the fact that it is a cheaper game, for it is a game that was made on a tighter timeline. You know what I mean? Like, this kind of hits all of the markers that we need and want from games moving forward to get around the budgets, to get around a lot of the issues that we're seeing in modern AAA development. If Astrobot were to be the story here, that is the game of the year winner at the Game Awards, because I'm assuming that's what we're talking about being the only real place that it really matters. So I think that PlayStation does need a win. I just don't know if they're going to get it without a new IP, because when we're talking about the PS4 lifecycle, Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon, God of War, even God of War being an established franchise, was done in a way that we had never seen it before. So all of these games, one game of the year in some capacity, in some outlet or another, because they were new, and unless they start delivering these new experiences heading into the back half of this life cycle, I don't know if it's going to happen, especially with the Switch 2 on the horizon, and what I'm sure Nintendo will have plenty of new things to kind of hit home on. Ghost of Yotei, I again, the biggest sin that it's going to have is just that it is Ghost of Tsushima 2 spiritually, regardless of if it isn't in name and in play. So I think if they can get it together and bring us some new IP, I think that they will win, because Sony's first party does have that namesake. I'm leaving Concord in the corner by itself. But I do think that it does need something. I don't know if they're going to get it with the way that they're playing the game right now.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said. And just to kind of champion Astrobot even further, I think that I think I've talked about this before, about how like I'm a bit of a controller nerd, and I love the controller experience, and so I've followed controller tech for quite some time, and the DualSense and how it has been used in Astro, even in Astro's Playroom, it was already impressive. So the fact that I was able to experience this game through my controller was really incredibly important to me. So like those things are GOTY like potential, but in the same respect, like I don't know that they're going to get it, because drunk Sony News is really just walking around still a little bit wobbly here. So we're clearly trying to watch Sony News just like find some sort of footing here. So yeah, and as you said, the future 2025 is going to be a banger. And so PlayStation needs to come in swinging, bro. Swanging.
Denny, any thoughts?
No, you guys have already thought everything I'm thinking. No, because I sorry, like
the delivery was so perfect.
It was so good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you guys have kind of hit the nail on the head. New exciting IPs are going to be what brings it home, and they need to have a really strong back half of this life cycle.
Yep.
Well, we will see what happens as we work our way back into the world of PlayStation over the next couple of years. But that, my friends, brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for listening. We appreciate all of you always. Denny, my dude, if people who wanted to see and hear more from you, where could they do so?
Oh, easy. They can find me on Twitch. They can find me on YouTube. If you want to keep tabs on my quote unquote social life, you can do that on Instagram. But yeah, everything's there on my Linktree. So Linktree/Denirikun Gaming.
Go find Denny at Denirikun Gaming and my boy Rice Boy.
All right, boy. Twitch.tv/Rice BOYYYTV. Same handle in my Linktree, y'all.
Go find Rice, and Denny in all of the spots. We appreciate them both very, very much. As for myself, of course, you can find me here at Constant Creatures, and you can find me over at butwhythough.net as well. Keep it locked. We have so much cool stuff coming over the next little while. Everyone be safe, be well, and we'll see you next week. Peace.